Welcome to Strip Privilege, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Andrew Ford, and we are here for a poetry discussion over a poem that I just found for the very first time. So I wanted to read to you Carl Sandberg's Evening Waterfall. Evening Waterfall. What was the name you called me? And why did you go so soon? The crows lift their call on the wind, and the wind changed and was lonely. The warblers cry in their sleep. The warblers cry their sleepy songs across the valley gloaming, across the cattle thorns of early stars. Feathers and people in the crotch of the treetop throw an evening waterfall of sleepy songs. What was the name you called me? And why did you go so soon? Now, I butchered that, so we're going to give it one more go. What was the name you called me? And why did you go so soon? The crows lift their call on the wind, and the wind changed and was lonely. The warblers cry their sleepy songs across the valley gloaming, across the cattle horns of early stars. Feathers and people in the crotch of a treetop throw an evening waterfall of sleepy songs. What was the name you called me? And why did you go so soon? This poem reeks of a phrase that is new to me. I've got a friend who's going to kick my ass because I know I'm going to say it wrong. Mono no aware, a sensitivity to ephemera. This poem is dripping with the awareness of passing. What was the name you called me, and why did you go so soon? Is both the first and the last couplet. But I think we're supposed to read it differently both times. The first time, I think that it is presented in a more genuine reading. What was the name you called me? And why did you go so soon? But by the time we get to that last couplet, by the time we get to the part where that couplet is repeated to the point of being incantation, to the point of the second time we get that couplet, it is repeated so that perhaps there would be some magical quality to it, which would, A, remind us of what it was that you called us, B, let us know why you left so soon. In between, we have all of the imagery of birds, the crows, the warblers, feathers, and people. We have all these images of, so birds, we know them for flight. But not just flight. If I remember correctly, Carl Sandberg is from Chicago. I've known that since the second grade when we read some Carl Sandburg poem. Or at least I think I've known that since the second grade when we read some Carl Sandburg poem about Chicago. I think that's all right. Maybe I'm making it up. Second grade was almost 30 years ago. So birds, to someone from Chicago, they're not always around. It gets pretty cold in Chicago. Birds are transient in Chicago. Birds will fly south. Birds are on the go. They're here, they call, and they go. What was the name you called me, and why did you go so soon? So we have this imagery of birds, but we also have the imagery of an evening waterfall. Why an evening waterfall? Well, water is transparent, and in the evening it would be especially hard to see. In a waterfall, that water's not sticking around anyway. So we have this entire, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11 lines of poetry. 11's a very strange number too. We have 4 couplets, and right in the middle we have a verse of 3 lines. As if the latter part of the poem is supposed to look just like the former half. It is set up almost as a pinnacle, almost like a triangle, a visual triangle, or a triangle of words, if you will. Well, if you're setting up a triangle of words, you're up one end and down the other. So we have all of this motion going on, nothing staying still. Even the feathers and the people that are at the crotch of the treetop, they throw down an evening waterfall of sleepy songs. And there again we have birds being compared to people, feathers and people in the crotch of a treetop throw an evening waterfall of sleepy songs. So I have never read this poem before, but it does give you that sense of mono no aware. That's right. I said that right. 100% correct. But it is it's a pretty good poem, I think. That feeling of transition, that feeling of flight. Just interesting to me. So I thought I would share a few thoughts on that. And yeah, that's the poetry discussion for today.